reduction plan. Google it. Look it up. It's on the Parliamentary Budget Officer's website. You don't have to believe me, and you certainly don't want to believe him.
Well, no one should believe Trudeau, or actually any politician. Let's put it that way. None of them should be trusted with information that they are spewing. So let's fact check this and see who is right. Let's listen to this check, because it always comes up. How dare you want to vote for Conservatives, because they will take away that money. That's the fear that Liberals always put in. Let's have a listen.
The tax. This Prime Minister wants to hike the tax. First of all, he wants to quadruple it between now and 2030. And on April 1st, he plans to hike it by 23% with the support of the NDP. The tax hike will be bigger than any increases in the rebate, and therefore people will be bigger. The average families in all the provinces will be bigger net losers under this tax than they were before. With Canadians unable to eat, heat, and house themselves, will the Prime Minister cancel his plan to hike the tax on April 1st?
I do believe this might be one of the first times the Leader of the Opposition has ever recognized that there is a Canada carbon rebate that he is going to cancel. Checks that he will prevent from delivering to Canadians right across the country. 8 out of 10 Canadians households get more money than they pay in carbon pricing in the provinces in which they apply. In Alberta, $1,800 a year to a family of 4.
Okay, $1,800 a year for a family of 4. Let's look at the data, which is in that PDF that he describes. But it's all broken down into these quintiles. So every bucket is a different salary of people. So quintile 1, $44,000 and less. Minimum wage is about $30,000. So it's the lowest in Canada. And the highest you can see, quintile 5 is about over $200,000. That's how you fit into that bucket. So you really got to look at the context when you look at this data. Now, he's saying in Alberta, $1,800. This is the data, and it is for Alberta. So the top there is how much checks that you get back. On average, with those quintiles, the 5 in 2023, the only number that looks close enough to $1,800, I guess he's rounding it up if it is that, $1,756. So that means on average, Albertans get a check last year, 2023 to 2024, $1,756. That's how much money they get back. Now, the real question is, and they've broken down the net cost into financial impact and financial impact plus economic impacts. At the end of the day, it's the whole bucket anyways. So let's look at a little bit more, because there's something critically missing. Look at this data. You can see now we're looking at it. The $1,756 is the checks that Albertans get back. Average is $710. That is out of pocket. You're still out of pocket. You know, the $1,756 is the check the government gives you. You pay an extra $24.66, and you're still out by $710. So the whole point is to stop the $24.66 so they don't have to give you a check at the end. That's really the whole point. And to help Trudeau get this number, let's look at this 1,800. Maybe he's picking something out in 2020, 2030, and nothing around here. I can't tell what month or year he is talking about. This is false. Let's go back and see the other parts of this check. Same thing here. Yeah, 1,200 Manitoba. Is it 2024 he picked? I don't really know. There's not much context. This, once again, is false. It still didn't come up. So that's incorrect. Let's go back to his video of him talking about this.
Even in Ontario, $1,120 to a family of 4 in Ontario.
Well, the same thing, 1,124. Now he's getting pretty exact. There is nothing. There is no year that matches that number. So that means a check. Ontario gets a check of about $1,000, $1,047 check. They're still out. So this, in my opinion, is still out. He is not being very clear with where he's getting the numbers. And that's the fear. It's always the fear that you don't want the checks. Like, you want to vote for the other guys?
That's money in their pockets that he wants to take away.
Well, I'm glad he mentioned his phony rebates, because $1,800 in Alberta is the rebate. That's what he said. You heard him. Here's the gross cost. $2,943.
Okay, so Pierre is saying next year, well, 2024 to 2025. So you see, now he's talking in Alberta, it's $2,032 check they get in 2024. So you're still out by the $901. So if you actually look at what he's saying, you have to pay $2,943 more in carbon tax, and you get back $2,032. I'm being exact here, so you still know. You're still out $911. And what's not included in there is that shrinkflation. You know, have you seen that the sizes? Pierre mentioned 2,943. That is exactly it.
2,943.
So in Alberta, you pay the $2,943 more. Shrinkflation is not in there because the prices, for example, of chicken nuggets, my kids like chicken nuggets, it goes down the size. So that's not incorporated. So he is correct in saying that. That is so true, that that number that he picked, it's in the right place. He's saying the right year. I like it. Let's go back.
So he's going to take away $2,943, but give back $1,800, and then ask you to be thankful for it, Mr. Speaker. Isn't that just proof that the carbon tax is just like him, not worth the cost?
The parliamentary budget officer himself recognized that the $1,800 in rebate we're sending, for example, to a family of four in Alberta is more than that family of four costs with the price on pollution.
Okay. Well, it's not coming from there. And this number right here, I'm highlighting that $440 and the $299, for example, that those group of people in those quintiles get more money back, a little bit more, because even the third quarter, $198. I mean, we're talking $198 for a year, and even the $299 in a year. I mean, it's pretty close when you look at the big number anyway. So that is not right there. Now, if you actually keep going through here and you look at the numbers, it's not even 2030 or anything like that. It's nothing that he says is valid what he brought up. Let's go through it, because I think I know where he's getting the 20% from.
That is the calculation that is done right across the country that shows that 8 out of 10 families are better off with the Canada carbon rebate.
Okay. How did he come up with that number? The only thing I could possibly think of is each one of these quintiles is 20%, like they're in these buckets, that each one of them, let's say, is 2. So 2 and 2 and 2. So 10. So he's saying that 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 5 or 20% are better off. But you see, that $592, that is the rebate. But I think he's picking it from 2030. That's not 2024, 25 or anything. That is in the future. And that report, I mean, it sucks. It's like every government report is so messed up how they word it and do it. So I love that the politicians are trying to throw numbers out, but that's super. They really should do that. But there's no context. Each one of these question periods should give a reference to what the hell they're talking about, because these numbers are flying all over the place, and it sucks. It's so easy to throw them out. Let's go back.
Than they pay in the price of pollution in areas in which it's brought in. We are both fighting climate change and delivering more money to households across the country, money that he wants to take away.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Budget Officer report is in my hands. Page 3 of a distributional analysis of the federal fuel charge under the 2030 Emissions Reduction Plan. Google it. Look it up. It's on the Parliamentary Budget Officer's website. You don't have to believe me, and you certainly don't want to believe him. Go look for yourself. The average Ontario family will pay $1,674 in carbon taxes next year.
Okay. You know what, Pierre? I will check that out, and I think everyone should always check out a politician. Let's look at that. $1,603. Yeah. $1,674. He is bang on. He said next year. So let's review. $1,185 check on average in Ontario for all the quintiles. That is a $799 extra you pay. So what happens is you pay $1,674, you get $1,185 back, and you're still out by $799. So yeah, that means he is trying to stop the $1,674. You shouldn't have to pay that in the first place, so you don't get a check. That's the whole point of what he's saying. So what that is, it is correct. The only thing is not right is not page 9. I'll give you that much. It's not page 9, but I don't know what these. They're just handing him stuff too, but at least he got the number right. So that is good to see on there. Now let's go through the other part on here too in Ontario. The quintiles 1 and 2. You can see that $241. You see that in 2023? That means that those people got a little bit more money, a little bit more, and they will for till 2030. The second quintile, $43, $32, $7. It's basically saying no change, actually saying no change pretty well till 2030. Only on quintile 3, but that's a year 2, and there's a lot of different family and there's a lot of things going on. I don't like the way they word that on there too, so that's not really good. And if you look here and going out to 2020, 30, it's still, let's go back.
That's $630 more than they get back in rebates. So why doesn't the Prime Minister Google it, look up the report, check the facts, and axe the tax?
Yeah, well, there's the report. I can leave the link at the bottom. It is back. That's where it is. It's just not on page 3, but everything Pierre said is correct. Everything that Trudeau said is incorrect, and he is looking for some positive thing in that report. Maybe it's 2030, what he's talking about. It very well could be, but all these politicians should leave a link where it's coming from. And even, even the CBC lady, they do a little poll and say, 90% of the people want the CBC. They're just looking for polls, paying for a poll to come up with something that it just fits their narrative, really, in my opinion. If they need it, let the people look at the data and give an opinion. Thanks for tuning in to Canada-Wide News. Hold up, before you dash off. A little birdie tells me many of you are ghosting around here without joining the subscriber crew. Given Trudeau's keen interest in making the internet his own sandbox, hitting that subscribe button is your golden pass to always catching our broadcasts. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out.